Hey guys, video today, mostly cover Silo, S-I-L-O. Do want to mention Trade Zero is down, so I cannot show my charts. I took a loss off the market open long and SYTA. I had about an 87 average, 86, and then I got knifed on the 82 guy getting taken out. Higher high, higher high, higher high, decent volume. Not that it didn't really break 400K. We've seen a lot of these market up longs hit like 1 million shares a minute, especially kind of this is in penny land, kind of high penny land, but still in penny land. But I liked it. I liked the walk down structure. I liked the higher highs. It had kind of like a window gap, referencing Mikey, kind of a gap here from this wick to this wick. I thought maybe it would catch some support, maybe get above 94, 95. Base, maybe keep pushing. That was kind of the hope for this type of play. Did a weak market open pullback. There were some bids down here that were holding. I did take the long. Actually held through this bottom wick. I was hoping it would play some games and keep pushing. Got stopped out, so I started the day red. And then Silo came up. So by the time I saw Silo, it was about here. Silo's interesting just because of this day one consolidation. This day that I was gone, right? Had this really hyper-controlled consolidation, right? Doing these liquidity swipes. So, day three, a lot of times, fairly common pattern, these like day three pushes that tend to happen. But I wasn't watching a market open because I didn't really trade a whole lot of volume pre-market, so I wasn't really prioritizing this in any way. Do know they can push. I thought that day one consolidation was super interesting. It brought in a bunch of volume on day three, just higher high, higher high, higher high. Has potential to be super short trappy. But if I'm logging in the top of the range, I usually want something that's like super clean, right? I was usually heavily relying on Bookmap to read the order book manipulation, right? So I took two trades. I took this trade at 948. We'll see the Bookmap manip here. And then I also took this trade at about 416 in the high day. Also, I mean, this is, which I was actually a little more proud of that trade because that was a trade I usually wouldn't take. I did not have shares of this. I didn't feel like paying for them. And then Trade Zero ended up freezing anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we will go to the book. So crazy volume coming in. SSR, man. SSR I consider a minor bullish factor, specifically on these high volume names with these quick pullbacks, right? Minor. I would still prioritize volume, extension, the book, right? Over SSR, it's definitely not the number one thing I'm thinking about, but it is nice to see because we've seen shorts essentially chase with really bad averages and get squeezed, right? And look at this, man. Deep pullback. These deep pullbacks, dude. This was nothing but deep pullbacks in this entire run, right? Which serves to both trap shorts and shake longs out, right? Of people who might be chasing. Here's another one. So this is the one I saw. So I saw this deep pullback. Not going to long into the first bid that shows up. This is not what I'm going to do. It's usually best to wait for multiple tests of bids, to wait for some structure. But this was early in the morning. These types of moves could be super rapid, super quick. So keep in mind the time frame of these types of moves on 940 and 945 going to be a lot quicker than a move at 11 o'clock, right? In most situations. So this was an interesting play, right? So by the way, I put shout out to Dan, my good friend Dan. I've known him for a very long time. In my Discord, information down below about the Discord. But a good amount of the more long focus. I have long focus and short focus people, which is cool. It's cool to have both, right? Big problem with a lot of Discords is they focus on one bias, and that leads to groupthink, and it leads to this us versus them mentality, right? Of like everything's either a long and shorts getting squeezed and fuck them, or the other way around, shorts. These long guys are idiots, don't know what they're doing. All that type of thing really just reduces your profitability to think that way. And it's important, it's important to, if you're a short seller, it's important to at least study longs because, I got my alert going off here, sorry. it's important to study what a good long is because it helps you avoid the short, right? Or if you are short, say like you shorted this pop. Let's just say you shorted this pop, right? For whatever reason. Maybe this is, you thought, it's making, it's getting quite extended, a million higher lows, and people are going to chase this push, right? Just say that's your thesis and you short this. And then you see this 98K ask show up. So this 98K ask, remember SSR, when this 98K guy showed up, produced an instant, like 5-8% pullback, pretty much instantaneous. So SSR, you kind of know people might be chasing the aggressive weakness, right? Might be getting short here. But this is what's interesting. They pulled that. You got to zoom in. They pulled this ask, and then they started stacking a tons of bids. And then, like, I saw 314s, 315s, 316s kind of holding, kind of like a micro resistance level where they're kind of holding it on the bid. I like that it was soaking for like a full minute. I like when something doesn't just tap it once and immediately. Some of these market open longs we see, TKLF and the one yesterday. What was the market open long yesterday? That just kind of had a dip and rip, right? Just like you almost had to react right away, right? Which sometimes that's the entry, and sometimes it could actually be kind of long trappy, right? So I really like to see some kind of consolidation. And yeah, I saw them pull this. Also, this paints another lower high, right? So we have painted lower highs below high a day. Bids come in, pull the ask at a key level. This was on the 1 minute 9. Again, I usually like it when it's on the 1 minute 20, something down here, but I just make a judgment call based on the bid stacking coming into the play. And yeah, I just took this move here to here. And actually, you can kind of see them pulling. Here's a high day clear out. They're pulling the bids. I thought it was a good idea. Just scalp them along and at the top of the range, scalp the move. And then they came in. Look at this. 150K, 142K. This is a setting in Bookmap. You click on Studies Configuration, and then you click on, you click on Settings, and you click on Configure Add-ons. And there's a thing called liquidity marker. So that's what. Shout out to Dan. Dan Sig in my Discord told the whole room about this today. But yeah, I saw this. Another high day clear out quick dump, man. How many of these did we have? 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 here if you want to count that. So short trappy, bro. So one of those ironic things, those counterintuitive things. Like the more aggressive selling there is, the more short trap potential there is that. But that being said, I saw this, and then I saw this consolidation. I'm like, dude, I did not have big brain, 30% short squeeze thinking on this. This is not what I was thinking. I was like, should I trust? Because the problem is big bids at the top can be bearish, right? You could get trapped on big bids at the top, right? On the top of the range, especially after multiple squeezes, which we'll come back to that over here. On this 491K guy coming in, we'll come back over here. So we get a big hyperextension, right? Way past this 340, 350 kind of consolidation that was happening over here. And then we get a 1 minute 20 tap, which the higher something goes, the less likely 1 minute 20 rotations are going to work. And this is when this was the very first moment I saw this guy come in where I went to go reserve shares. I was like, did not have shares I didn't even look at shares up until this point. Because like, why would I, right? I just know what short entry it is. It's so, everything about it from the moment I pulled it up, I'm like, they're doing it with ask manipulation in the bids and squeezing. I'm like, where's the short on this, right? But this becomes more interesting. Hey, this bid is massive, man. The bids back here are like, on the initial run-up, we're like 140, 150K, 110K, and then half million shares comes in, and if you're long off huge bids at the top, kind of like here, this is a good example. Big bid showing up should push relatively fast, right? Often it should push in less than a minute. I actually thought maybe this might stall and roll over, and that's why I wasn't taking this. I was like, this is kind of taking a while, and it was kind of pulling back. I didn't know what to really think, and then they just came in with another bid. And then look how empty the book is up here. You got these huge air pockets on the book, so it's how low floats are. It's like LCFY and all those tickers, man. You got these massive air pockets and tiny floats and all that stuff, and just starts ramping. So yeah, here's another big bid coming in. Starts filling some ass. A new ass comes in, stalling, and then they and if you can anticipate this, you could actually anticipate either this bid maybe getting, sometimes even get filled, or in this case getting pulled. But you're like, hey, I don't think this bid is really going to work here. This is you know, Zap, and one of my Zap videos I talked about this. Where they also had a massive bid show up at the top like this, and we had stalling, didn't really go anywhere. So man, if you have the big brain anticipation, you can get in the fours here. But you know, you always have to consider the bullish thesis, right? And the bullish thesis is there's always another lower high. That being said, this was pretty extended, so I wouldn't blame anyone for taking this. And you know, kind of very luckily, since I didn't pay for the shares, I was able to make a read on this rotation, right? This aggressive, we'll go back to this aggressive high day clear out move, right? Which we've seen these aggressive high day clear out moves, like big push. I thought this pullback was kind of shallow, man. I thought for this type of pattern to work, in my mind, it usually happens that stocks that pull back farther. Maybe pull back to sub VWAP and then, or towards VWAP and then push. You know, give like a 20-30% pullback and then push. I thought this was kind of like range bound, kind of grindy. But this is the type of aggressiveness you see on that high day clear out pattern, right? That being said, what was interesting about this on the book wise, the reason I longed it, because you have this like 412 ask that was being held down, and the bid getting pulled, right? So once I saw the rotation, it's like, well, maybe this bid getting pulled was on purpose, get people to chase, start to rotate. That would be like the bullish thesis, right? They're just using these big bids, big ass to control stock. Starts to rotate, and this is this is where I this is where it had a book flip right at that lower high level. So that 410 guy gets broken. They actually put, I think it's like 100,000 shares on the bid. And I was like, I'm like, oh, because this made a new lower high, right, with a lot of manipulation, maybe they're looking to rotate through the lower highs for a high day clear out, right? Now, I am still bad at making the actual short read, but at least, you know, I went in long. God, actually, I would have to look, but it might be like 418. So I'm like, dude, I'm just going to risk 410. And actually, they pulled 410. I was actually really afraid again. I was like, man, maybe this was dumb. But luckily, they just shoved it straight up, and I just sold everything. It's the same trade I took on the other trade. On extended names, I'm much more willing to just sell everything in the high day. You got to understand where you are at the chart. Understand what the book looks like, right? We zoom in. You know, this is just a liquidity squeeze, right? No bid follow-up. Single tiny bidder. This guy got pulled. You know, it's you know, this big getting pulled is still potentially bearish, right? Because the book is still empty to the downside. But anyway, the only thing I got to say about the rest of this play is on these high day clearouts, if you don't have the read on the high day clearout and your average isn't, I would say, in the top part of this wick, you know, maybe from like 420 to 450, if your average isn't up here, keep in mind on these high volume plays, man, you know, this pulled back from 450s to 380s. You usually, I mean, chasing is always a bad habit, but you do have a high day clearout short trap potential. That being said, it is quite extended, right? That's something to consider. But even if you're looking to short and you didn't get the read on this, wait for some retracement. Wait for a retracement past some lower highs, man. Like, don't chase the bottom of candles, you know, or don't chase red candles, man. Like, understand the volume, understand the manip, and wait for a retracement, and then look at the. I mean, let's look at the book on this retracement, right? Starts bouncing, starts eating through ask. Now, I didn't have the read on this. I thought what I thought was going to happen, I thought this would put in a lower high, and they would come back and maybe do some type of clear out move later. That being said, if you did short this, there's a very good short seller in my room named Mike who shorted this on this consolidation. About like these asks were, there was like 5 or 6 40K asks that showed up on this walk down here, which is good to see. it's good to see multiple layers of ads come in on after you take a short, right? Especially on a stock that's so extended. So anyways, yeah, I mean, I didn't have the read on there. That being said, I did call out on my Discord, whenever you get really symmetrical higher lows like this, eventually these are going to get cracked, right? The more a symmetrical higher low trend line holds, the more likely it's going to get cracked in a lot of situations. Only other thing I really have to say about this is you know what this actually reminds me of? This high relative volume push. These high relative volume pushes, he's like overly aggressive. So we're at like a deep support level in terms of the structure, and you get this hyper aggressive move. If these don't immediately if these don't catch a bid and start fucking ramping, any stalling on these can be very bearish, especially if you look again another higher low trend line. You know, we can ignore this one now. Look at this one, right? That becomes more bearish, right? So you're looking at the overall structure. Remember, in terms of this move, you can actually short these moves. A lot of times I'll take these moves for scalps. I had a trade on Nexi. Nexi kind of had a mini one. That oh yeah, good old delisting Nexi on OTC now. On this little move, right? Little fake 1 minute flag push. But the main one is ATNF. Go back to this name from I don't know how many days ago was that. Here. Kind of a similar concept, right? Hyper off of a deep support level, high relative volume push, just rolls over and dumps. So that's the bearish thesis on a name like that. So I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Is this high relative volume initiation going to start squeezing these lower highs? Maybe. You know, I thought, hey, what if this like does this high relative volume push, squeezes past 425 and does like a fat long trap and just yoinks, you know what I mean? Some type of crazy liquidity move like that, right? So it's up to you. You know, a lot of times I'll wait for levels like that. You know, I'll wait for 425s to get pushed and swiped. And I'll miss these trades. Sometimes, you know, you can wait for second pushes and make reads on that. You know, like these little 11, 18. You can look at volume. You can look at let's look at the book on that play, man. But these are the plays you want to make reads on, right? You want to make reads on the aggressiveness. Those are usually the best reads. Long and short. You know, really long and short. And yeah, I mean, big push, 0 bid follow-up, ass getting filled, ass coming in here, stalling on low volume. And unsurprisingly, isn't that funny? They have these higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. Aggressive liquidity move, then they crack it. Classic backside stuff. That being said, Trade Zero has been taking a fat dump in many ways. Especially, I want to say, ever since this T+1 change, Trade Zero's shares, prices, and availability has been pretty bad. So I'll probably, you know, a part of me is I've been longing more. What's nice about longing and making more money long side, because I don't feel the need to be in every short. I also don't even feel the need to reserve shares on every play. You know, I want to say back in 2021, 2022. I would just pay, you know, up to, you know, 2-3% of the share. You know, if the stock's $5 a share, willing to pay 10 to 15 cents a share for borrows, and I would just borrow everything over like 50-60% and just try to. I would have like 4 or 5 ticker shares located. You know, spending you know, you'd be thousands sometime in the hole, thousands of dollars in the hole on borrows and stuff, and it's just without even making a trade, and it really just you know, not only is my long profitability massively up this year, but my borrow fee cost is massively down, just because I'm more capable of making money long, and I just don't feel the need to be in short. So it's nice. It's nice to do that. And yeah, I mean, SLNO, I mean, who knows, SILO, in terms of what's going to happen the rest of the day. I mean, I don't usually try to make any long reads. I'm so bad at these. Like, yeah, I see painted lower highs. High day clear out, could it get attacked on some crazy multi-day runner rotation that goes insane. Maybe 5-minute 20x of support. Like, I don't know. I usually don't make any reads on this. But yeah, massive walk down. So I don't know. Pushes back above 4. I guess I'll look at it, you know, and get into the 3.9s and 4s, and you know, see what happens. Kind of wild, man. Wild play. Heavily controlled selling on this play. So, yeah, I'll post my chart. Just had 2 longs. Again, it was from here to here off that 95K ass getting pulled. And then the 410 book flip on this after, you know, 500K bid gets pulled, they start rotating it, they book flip it, scalp the high day. You know, put 100,000 shares on the bid. Scalp at the high day, get the hell out of there because get out of there because you're way too far up in the range to expect a whole lot. But hey, man, sometimes 418 to 440s is you know, on a like a more predictable setup. Even though, again, I this is kind of the first time I hit one of these rotations. But they add up, man. So that's it for today, guys. And then, yeah, I lost money on that SYRA, whatever the ticker was. So, okay. Kind of a decent green day. Would have been a massive if I actually held through. If I actually held through this, but it'd be like that sometimes. You guys have a good one. Information down below about the disc. Also, I think my Twitter information is down below. And, yeah. See you guys tomorrow.